Hello everyone, this is part 2 of my Moog Prodigy restoration set of videos. Today we're going to be removing some of these pots and just giving them a clean, because they can get quite dirty and you can't seem to get the same pots again. I've looked in quite a few places and I just can't seem to locate the same type, so the next best thing is to just pull them apart and clean them. It's not too difficult, it's just this top cover really that's clamped on at the bottom in 4 places. Once you undo that cover, the whole thing just falls apart, and just use some cotton buds to clean it up, and just remove the grease that's underneath here because it gets stuck. It's the Prodigy's pots can be quite hard to turn, and this is a grease inside that looks like it's just gone all gooey and yuck over, 30 years or so, 30 or 40 years. So we remove that and just replace it with a new grease. Alright, so the first thing is to just remove one. Now they're just held on by these 2 tabs and the solder of the pins, and if these tabs aren't clamped down properly, the whole pot can move, and that puts stress on these pins, and these solder joints, you often find it cracked and dry and aren't even connecting anymore. So look, I've had quite a few pots on these ones. The ones that I've taken off are the pots that were just already wobbly because they just weren't clamped on very well, and then all the pins became loose and the pot wasn't even connected anymore to the circuit. First thing is to just bend those tabs straight, and after you've done that, you can just heat the 3 pins of the pot. The idea is to keep moving the soldering iron to keep each of the 3 pins hot, so I don't start pulling until I'm sure that the solder is completely melted on all 3, and at that point it starts to get a bit easier. A bit of trouble with one pin. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, that's easier. So it's not too difficult to get out. Much easier than the sliders, that's for sure. So I'll just move the board out of the way. Board over here. Okay, so pulling apart the pot is really easy. But the first thing I do is label where it came from on the circuit, so you don't get them confused. So I put the label firstly on the casing, and then most importantly on the bottom of the PCB, because that's where the carbon track is. And that way I don't separate the top from the carbon track. The reason why that's important is because the top of the pot has the part number on it, and it might be confusing for someone if you switch that part number around. So I usually keep them together, bend it up. So you just work the surfaces apart a little bit so you can get the pliers underneath. And then you just bend the tab up. And it starts to fall apart even when only 2 are lifted up, so you gotta be careful, just hold it together. Then you can take off the main tabs that fix it to the circuit board. And then you've got the PCB with the carbon track, so we'll give the carbon track a bit of a clean. That one looks a bit dirty. And then you've got the spring that contacts the track, and just the cap that goes on the top. So there's only 4 pieces. You can see there's a grease inside here which is just really viscous and old and gluey and yucky. That's the reason why the pots don't turn very well. In fact, if I put it back in, if I hold it like this, the shaft doesn't even fall out. It's glued in. No wonder they feel bad. There's a lot to clean up on this one actually. So to clean it up, I just use an old Q-tip or cotton bud and some acetone. Just got some acetone in here. Try and just scrape it all out. Look at that. This looks like earwax. It's horrible. Yeah. So it can take a while to get it all off. And I usually remove it from the shaft as well. There's quite a lot on this shaft actually. Seems really inconsistent how much is on each of the pots. Some pots you open and there's not that much, and other ones it's like there's a whole tube of glue in there. Alright, that should do. And while I'm cleaning, I'm going to do the carbon track. So it's cleaned up much better. The acetone's good because it evaporates straight away, so you can just put it back together without waiting. It's nice and clean. Now, before I put it back together, I'm going to put some of this grease on. It's just a white lithium grease. It's quite good. It's not too viscous. So it's a bit softer than a car grease, but it's not as oily as an oil. It's quite smooth. I usually put some on the base of the shaft as well. So you put the shaft back in the cap. You can already tell it's much smoother, super smooth. You don't have to worry about which way you put it back together because it'll center itself once the carbon track fits on. So you just put it back on. The important thing is though is to make sure that this spring is still pushing against the track. So when you put the two together, just have a look, make sure that it's bouncing. So you can see the spring's pushing back on it. So that's right. And then you just put that face back on. And bend the tabs. And then just finish by pushing them in. Alright, that's good. So it's much better. Feels better, and there shouldn't be any little bits of carbon on the track anymore, or any stray bits anyway. So that one's done. There's only about another 15 or 20 to go. So that's it. It's not too bad. Well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.